Hey everybody, it's my 55-gallon Gourami tank. We've got some new fish in here we're going to look at today. If you follow along, you'll know that I recently added a few pearl gouramis and a couple of moonlight gouramis. So the moonlight gourami is getting a little bit bigger, but it still pretty much hides down this end of the tank most of the time. And then a few days ago, I decided I was going to add some more pearl gouramis. And the two little fish you can kind of see swimming around up there in the corner are what I got. The person at the store mistakenly gave me honey gouramis instead of pearl gouramis. This is what a pearl gourami should look like. So I still have enough room to add some pearl gouramis because those little honey gouramis are so small. So I also added a bunch of neons out of my quarantine tank. So now I've got a school of about 10 neons going on in here. But the real big excitement in this tank, the new fish that I've put in here that is shocking to me, is my new angelfish. I actually put an angelfish in my Gourami tank. I've been saying for years and years not to do that. And now I've done it. So I've always wanted to try it. When I first got into fish keeping, someone whose opinion I greatly respected more or less warned me never to mix gouramis and angelfish. It was just a problem waiting to happen. And as time has gone on, I have expressed that point of view to so many people, and I've always had people respond back to me saying that they've heard similar things, but they've tried it and they've had success. And I've never really gotten any anecdotal stories of any terrible tragedies by mixing angelfish and gouramis. So little by little I've sort of stopped warning people about the dangers of doing so, and I've thought more and more about it. And I think a lot of it depends on the angelfish's personality, and a lot of it also depends on the personality and species of the gourami. This angelfish is not going to cooperate at all, is it? When I think back to it, a lot of the people that talked about the gouramis they had with their angelfish, where it was a tentative situation, it was always a color morph of the 3-spot, which is the most aggressive of all the gouramis. I've got the honey gouramis, pearl gouramis, and moonlight gouramis in this tank, all of which are like the 3 least aggressive of all the gouramis. And you can see how nobody's bothering anybody. It's been a day since the angelfish went in the tank, and I haven't seen any signs of aggression. The gouramis went over and they inspected the angelfish, and they did their little thing with their feelers and they checked it out, and the angelfish got kind of used to the gouramis being around it and stopped acting all desperate and aggressive. And within minutes, everybody in the tank was just kind of hanging out like they all live here now. And so far, so good. The reason I got this angelfish is, well, you can just look at it and see the reason I got this angelfish. I bought one yesterday for my wife's tank upstairs, and it was a real little thing, an absolutely beautiful little white angelfish with one little spot of black on the forward edge of its dorsal fin. Really caught my eye when I walked in. I said, I got to have that one. I was looking for an angelfish to put in that tank anyway. And it's just a mixed veil, nothing special or nothing specific. And after I had that one bagged up, I saw this one in the tank next to it, and I was just like, oh wow, look at that. And I stood there for probably 5 minutes trying to decide what to do with it, because if I brought it home, I had nowhere to put it if I brought it home other than where you see it. And so I talked to the guy in the store, and it might be a big chain pet store, but the guy's got a few years experience keeping fish himself, and he said pretty much the same that I've heard from other people, that he did have some issues when he tried to keep, see there's one of those little tiny gouramis right now, and you can see there's no real, the angelfish was just making sure it wasn't going to bother him, but that was it. And that was the point. What happened with his experience was it was the gourami that was aggressive towards the angelfish, and in defense, the angelfish wound up killing the smaller gourami. And then the larger of the two gourami in the tank kind of stayed away from the angelfish from then on, and he didn't have any more issues. And when I asked him, sure enough, it was a blue gourami that was aggressive towards the angelfish, which is a color morph of the 3-spot. So, I talked about it with him, and I told him what kind of gouramis I have, and he agreed that it was certainly worth the try. Angelfish are easy enough to catch. It's not one of these situations where once I put it in the tank, it's just in there. Worst case scenario, if I was having issues, I can always pull it out of the tank and try to find some other place to put it. Worst case scenario, I could always take it back to the store and return it. I've got 2 weeks to do that, and then I have another fish store that I can always just go sell fish to them for store credit. So I've always got options if things go south, and don't work out the way I anticipated them. Looks like the gourami's got tons and tons of extra finnage there. I know some people, even people that like angelfish, boy, he is just not going to cooperate, is he? Even people that like angelfish, some people are not real big fans of that real, that super veil look, all that extra flowing finnage. I personally am. I used to have a black one that was just amazing looking. It was like black marbled and had long flowing fins on it. It was absolutely gorgeous. So this one's still fairly young, and I think we've got a lot more filling in to do and a lot more growth, and I'm going to give up trying to get it good and solid on camera. We'll get to see more of it as time goes on. So there you go. I've got a new angelfish, and I've got a full amount of neons in there that they should school together. If you look around, they're just like little speckled dots all over the tank. So even getting them into larger groups of fish doesn't necessarily mean they're going to coalesce into a nice tight school like we might like to see them. And they're in a tank with angelfish. So the idea that putting them in a tank that's got some natural predators will cause them to school together is true, but it's only true for a given value of the word true. These fish are so far removed from their original habitats and origins. They've been bred in captivity for so many generations now. I really don't think that these neons naturally see angelfish as a threat any more than that angelfish naturally sees neons as food. These aren't wild caught, or F1 or F2s or something. These are neons and angelfish that have been bred in captivity for decades. So they don't necessarily see each other as food and threat, and that's why I'm not necessarily going to get that real tight schooling behavior you might otherwise see. I think I've got probably 12 or 15 neons in there now. It's something like that. I didn't even count how many. I put some in my wife's tank and I threw the rest in here, and I started out with about 20. So like I said, we've probably got at least a dozen in here, maybe more. So there you go. There was the first look at my new inhabitants in my Gourami tank. Go ahead and make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss anything else I got coming up. You never know what it's going to be. In fact, I'm going to be tinkering on a few things down here today, and you don't want to miss any of that. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget, this one is my Gourami tank, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.